Genetec servers employ role-based architecture. This means that any given server's workload is not determined by the software that we've installed. Whether the server will be used to manage cameras to record video, or manage door hardware to control access, or manage license plate readers to perform ALPR, all Genetec servers have the same software installed. The Windows operating system, Microsoft SQL Server, and the Genetec Server Service. That's it. Any difference in their functionality is determined by the role that we assign to them, and a server role lives within the Genetec Server Service. So under the hood, all Genetec servers have the same software. Our failover and redundancy options that we'll look at later were built upon this principle. So all Genetec servers have the same software, the Genetec Server Service, and the distinction between the different servers' workloads comes from the different roles available within that Genetec service. These are some of the most commonly used server roles. For platform features, the color code is blue. These are modules that are part of the core software and not specific to cameras or doors or ALPR. For Omnicast features or video management, the color code is green. For Synergis features or access control, the color code is red. And for AutoView features or license plate recognition, the color code is orange. A word about this Unit Assistant role. The Unit Assistant is a central role that manages its own encrypted database in which it saves usernames and passwords for various hardware devices, like cameras and appliances. This role allows us to push password changes into devices, to automate password changes, to schedule password changes, to view and export passwords from the hardware inventory task, and to generate random secure passwords. It's not a vital role, and if it crashes, the system will still work, but it is still a default role. Many server roles offer useful features like web access to the system, integrations with external systems, device inventory, and password management. But if we were to strip down the server to run the bare minimum necessary server roles, we'd find 4 specific server roles at the core of our architecture. The directory. Every system needs a directory role. Without it, you don't have a security center system. It's the boss of all the other servers and roles and keeps the master database of all system configurations. The system's license is applied on the directory server. Client applications access the system by connecting and authenticating with the directory. The archiver role is the server role responsible for managing cameras and saving video recordings. It must have a network connection to the cameras it needs to manage. The access manager role. This is the server role responsible for managing door hardware and the database of all access events. It must have a network connection to the access control appliances that it will manage. And the LPR manager manages license plate recognition units and must maintain a network connection to the SHARP units that it will manage. These would be the 4 basic roles on which everything else is based. Roles are very modular and can be added or deleted at any time. So if my system doesn't have any cameras, then I don't need the archiver role. If my system doesn't manage doors, I don't need the access manager role, etc. We can add, remove, or configure server roles in Config Tool, System Task, Roles. Whether I'm logged into a single or multi-server system, I'm now looking at a list of all the server roles running in this system, and I can click the Add an Entity button at the bottom to create a new server role. These are all the server roles that I can create and add to my system. While most server roles are found in the System Task Roles tab, sometimes server roles are created as plugin roles. A plugin is software that isn't part of Security Center's default offering, but can be added to the system for additional functionality. This is most often seen when we integrate Security Center with some external platform like Secure Access Control or Axis Video Forensics or Bosch Intrusion Panels, and there are many others. So some server roles are created as plugin roles, and we can see in my plugins task that my system doesn't have any plugin roles. There are some plugin software packages that have been installed by default in a new system. This isn't so much for integration with an external system as it is really integration with other Genetec solutions. So server roles are created, deleted, and configured in either the config tool's system task or plugins task. In a simple single server system, all server roles would be running on our only server. But what about a multi-server environment? Not all servers are equal. Main servers run a directory role. Expansion servers do not. The directory is the big boss in charge of the whole system. It manages the master database with all system configurations. In a multi-server deployment, we simply install the Genetec server service on additional servers and point them to the main server. Once connected to the main server, the expansion server becomes part of our system available to run server roles. By default, they're not running any roles, just the Genetec server service. But then you connect with your config tool application, and you assign roles to the expansion servers. I want you to run an Access Manager role, and you to run an Active Directory integration role, and you to run a Federation role, and you to run an Archiver role, etc. If I can run all server roles on my main server, why would I design a multi-server system? The most common reason is system scale. An Archiver role is limited to 300 cameras. An Access Manager role is limited to 2,000 readers. What if I'm deploying a large system with 1,000 cameras? The answer is to run multiple archivers to manage that large number of cameras. So the size or scale of a system is the most common motivator to deploy a multi-server system. But there's another common motivation. Physical location or network topology can also be a motivation to set up a multi-server system. Imagine that I'm deploying the security system for a fictitious company with headquarters in Montreal, Canada. Our main server with the directory lives there. Perhaps we're managing 50 cameras at the head office, but then we've got an important European site in Paris. Our Paris office has 15 cameras. And we've also got a smaller sales office in Singapore where we're managing 5 cameras. So our entire global system has only 50 plus 15 plus 5, 70 cameras. That's not a huge scale that demands multiple servers to handle the load. But due to the decentralized topology, it's safer to deploy servers in each of our remote sites. We might not want all cameras recording on our single main server in Montreal. What happens if a remote site has an internet outage? By deploying servers to all sites, we're ensuring that the system records whether connected to headquarters or not. So how do we set up an expansion server to grow from a single server system to a multi-server system? The first step is to install Security Center on your expansion servers. Log into the Genetec support site at portal.genetec.com. Navigate to the product download page, select Security Center as the product, select the major version, select the build or minor version, download and install it on your expansion server or servers. There's no distinction between the client software installer and the server software installer. They're all installed from the same single download package. During the installation of your expansion server, the installer will ask you if you're installing a new main server or an expansion server. Be sure to select expansion server. No additional licenses are required to add expansion servers to your system. We license entities like cameras, readers, or license plate recognition units. The number of servers in your system is not a licensable option. If you select Expansion Server in the Install Shield wizard, one of the subsequent dialog boxes you will encounter asks you how to connect to the main server. Unless you've changed them, leave the default ports and enter your main server's name or IP address, as well as its server admin password to connect. Completing this dialog box ensures that your new expansion server will try to connect to the main server as soon as the software installation has completed. But if you're installing the expansion server and you don't have the details for your main server, that's okay too. You can skip the step in the Install Shield wizard and use the expansion server's server admin application to connect it to the main server afterwards. Security Center supports backwards compatibility up to a maximum of 3 major versions. 5.10, 5.11, 5.12 are examples of different major versions. The purpose of this feature is not for a permanent operating environment, but rather for temporary use to help with system upgrades. Imagine that I'm running a big 5.10 system with many expansion servers and client workstations. I want to upgrade everything to 5.13, but it's a lot of servers and workstations to update in a single overnight maintenance window. So I'll upgrade my main server with the directory first. With backwards compatibility, the expansion servers and workstations can still connect to the upgraded directory, up to a maximum of 3 versions difference. And then I can take my time upgrading a couple more at a time, until eventually my entire system is running 5.13. The Security Center Installation and Upgrade Guide can be downloaded from the portal. It contains detailed documentation on every step of a new installation or upgrade of an existing installation. It also documents scripting the installation for unattended installations. So an expansion server is simply another server resource in the pool. By default, expansion servers don't do anything until we assign a workload. We can either move an existing server role to the new empty expansion server, or we can create a new role on the expansion server. New roles can be created and assigned to servers in Config Tool, System Task, Roles, by clicking the Add an Entity button at the bottom of the page. To determine which role is currently running on which server, there are 2 ways we can proceed. Config Tool, System Task, Roles. We find a list of all server roles running in our system. And by selecting any given role, its Resources tab will show us on which server it's running. The second method is from the perspective of the server. In the Network View task, expand the subnetwork to find your server, and we can see a list of all roles running on any given server. My S201 server is running 16 server roles, while my S202 server is running 4 server roles. This concludes our lesson on server architecture. Thank you.